The story kicks off with this dude, Smith, chilling on a bench and munching on a carrot like it's no big deal. Out of nowhere, a woman in a bright yellow coat runs by, clearly panicked, being chased by a guy driving an old black Camaro. Smith, a carrot enthusiast, decides to follow her. The chase leads to an abandoned factory where the guy's about to kill the woman, until Smith steps in and literally stabs the dude in the head with the carrot. Yeah, you read that right. Before Smith can even process what just happened, a group of armed men shows up, guns blazing. Smith, being Smith, grabs a gun and takes them down like a pro. Amid all this chaos, the woman suddenly goes into labor. Smith helps her deliver the baby, but there's no time to celebrate because more attackers are on the way, led by a bald, glasses-wearing guy named Hertz, who's got serious bad guy vibes. As Smith tries to get the woman and baby to safety, she gets killed, leaving Smith to escape with the newborn. Smith ducks into a public washroom to regroup, but ends up in a hand-to-hand fight with a sharply dressed hitman. Instead of killing him, Smith lets the guy live and moves on. On a bus, he makes a makeshift hat for the baby out of his sock, because why not? And then leaves the baby in a park on one of those spinning playground rides, hoping someone will take care of it. But things go south fast when a random woman tries to pick up the baby and gets sniped by Hertz from a distance. Smith swoops in just in time to grab the baby and bolts. Needing help, Smith heads to a church that doubles as a brothel. There, he meets Donna Quintano, a hooker who's also a lactating wet nurse. He offers her $5,000 to look after the baby, but she's not interested. Meanwhile, Hertz, being the creepy villain he is, figures out the baby needs milk and decides to hunt down a lactating prostitute. Naturally, he ends up at Donna's place. He tortures her for info about Smith, but before things can get worse, Smith shows up, guns blazing. He shoots Hertz and a few henchmen, then makes a quick getaway in a stolen BMW. On his way out, Smith gets ticked off at a Mercedes driver who doesn't use their turn signal, so he rams their car out of frustration, because why not add some road rage to the mix? Meanwhile, Hertz isn't dead and calls in reinforcements, 50 more men to be exact. Smith, Donna, and the baby lay low at Smith's loft, which is hidden in some random industrial building. The place is pretty quirky, with a door lock operated by a rat. Yeah, a literal rat. Hertz, along with his henchmen, tracks them down because apparently Hertz used to be an FBI behavioral expert and has a knack for predicting people's moves. Inside the loft, Smith improvises a diaper out of a newspaper and decides to name the baby Oliver, inspired by Oliver Twist. They notice the baby chills out whenever heavy metal music plays on TV, but starts crying whenever a politician appears on screen. Classic baby, right? Suddenly, a whole squad of attackers storms the place. Donna escapes using a dumbwaiter, while Smith goes full action hero mode, shooting his way out with the baby in tow. Hertz and his crew chase them with dogs, but Smith throws them off by using the baby's diaper as a decoy. Genius. Thinking the baby must have developed a liking for heavy metal in the womb, Smith and Donna head to a local metal club. Upstairs, they find a room full of dead bodies and a photo of 3 women in yellow dresses, one of whom was the baby's mom. Next door, they overhear a shady guy talking on the phone about the women. Things get even weirder when they find a lab filled with vials of bone marrow from a single donor. Smith figures out that the babies are being used for someone's bone marrow transplants. Creepy stuff. The trio hides out in a hotel room, where Smith decides to chill and watch TV while waiting for the story to blow up. He's already called all the big news outlets to spill the beans. Donna can't help but feel heartbroken as memories of her own child flood back. While she's caught up in her thoughts, she and Smith share a kiss that quickly leads to them hooking up. Things are just heating up when, out of nowhere, a group of SWAT-style gunmen bursts in. But Smith, being the unstoppable force he is, manages to shoot them all without even uncoupling from Donna. Talk about multitasking. After the chaos, Smith decides to take Donna and the baby to an armory. His big plan? Stash them in an M24 tank to keep them safe. He hands Donna a gun for protection and distracts the people around by spanking a woman who's yelling at her kid. Yep, he actually does that, giving Donna a chance to sneak into the tank. Once they're secure, Smith gears up for his next mission, heading to the Hammerson gun factory. Meanwhile, Hertz and Hammerson are deep in conversation about some genius British weapons expert, totally unaware that Smith is lurking nearby, ready to strike. Predictably, all hell breaks loose again as bullets fly in every direction. Smith and Hertz exchange some snarky insults, but then Hertz drops a bombshell. He knows Smith's wife was murdered in a fast food joint. Fueled by anger, Smith goes full Rambo, using a crazy setup of automatic guns rigged to fire with strings. After the showdown, Smith returns to the tank and spills the beans to Donna about Hammerson being the wealthy guy pulling the strings. While flipping through a newspaper, Smith spots a headline about Senator Rutledge and puts two and two together. The senator needs the baby for some shady scheme, and his proposed gun law would ruin Hammerson's business. The plot thickens. Before they can act, a black SUV ambushes them on the street. Smith grabs the baby and makes a daring jump into a red BMW, kicking off a wild car chase. He manages to take out the SUV, but in the chaos, the baby falls onto the road. As if things couldn't get worse, a van full of armed thugs shows up, but Smith wastes no time mowing them down. Then Hertz rolls up in his limo and runs over the baby. Except, surprise, it's just a doll with a tape recorder. Classic Smith move. Smith later calls the senator's aide, remember the guy from the bathroom brawl, and sets up a meeting. They link up in an airport bathroom before heading on to the senator's private campaign jet. Smith confronts the sickly politician, and while they're talking, he notices white dog hair on the senator's pants. That's all Smith needs to figure out that Rutledge is in cahoots with Hammerson. Just then, Hammerson and Hertz appear from the back of the plane. Things escalate, and Smith ends up holding Rutledge hostage in a cargo hold. He tells the senator that his death will guarantee Congress passes the anti-gun bill, then shoots him in the head without hesitation. Smith makes a daring escape by parachuting out of the plane, all while having a mid-air shootout with his attackers. In a particularly brutal moment, he even pushes the senator's aide straight into a helicopter's blades. Once on the ground, Smith, battered and bleeding, stumbles into an industrial building. That's when Hertz shows up, gun in hand, ready to finish him off. Meanwhile, Donna is cautiously walking near a church, while Smith is dragged into a dingy basement where Hammerson and Hertz take turns torturing him. Hertz cranks up the violence, breaking Smith's fingers and bringing a scalpel dangerously close to his eye. But Smith, being the tough guy he is, fights back. He manages to kill Hammerson and Hertz's goons, then crawls upstairs, completely wrecked. In the final showdown, Hertz approaches to gloat, but Smith has one last trick up his sleeve, or rather in his hand. He's holding bullets between his fingers and uses the fireplace's heat to ignite them, shooting Hertz right in the chest. Even then, Hertz refuses to die, but Smith puts an end to it for good. With his hands heavily bandaged, Smith waits at a bus stop in front of the church. The bus, full of hippies, takes him to an ice cream shop. Inside, he finds Oliver safe and sound, and Donna working as a waitress. They share a kiss, but the moment is cut short when a group of scruffy robbers barges in. Smith, ever the badass, takes them all out, even using a carrot to help him fire a gun despite his injuries.